Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm delighted to speak to you this evening from Australia. And yes, I was on the board of the Australian chapter um, of the Internet Society for over 10 years, and the founding chair of the Internet Society Accessibility Standing Group. So I'm very pleased to be here, and I've worked in this area for uh, nearly 30 years. It's a bit scary, on disability advocacy, policy, and research. And I've also been, as a second term member of the United Nations Internet Governance Forum multi-stakeholder advisory group. And I speak here as a person with a disability and from that user perspective. In other words, I'm speaking about us and not about them. I think that's important. So my presentation is entitled Disability Leadership for Digital Rights. Earlier, we heard from Sally Wentworth, the CEO of the Internet Society, and from Dan York, the Senior Director of Online Trust and Safety. And they explained the board resolution to formalize accessibility in the Internet Society by building a culture of accessibility. And those words ring very true to me. Also working towards eliminating barriers to ISOC's content, events, services, processes, and practices for persons with disability. So I'm honored, as that person with a disability, that these goals and set of objectives underlying the ISOC accessibility framework are being used based on my original input and the direct advocacy by Dr. Mohammed Shabir. So thank you to Sally and Dan for your commitment to accessibility. You are real accessibility champions, and it's an example of how senior managers can direct change throughout the organization in partnership with persons with disability. Very important. So that is exemplified by the ongoing collaboration between ISOC staff and the ISOC Accessibility Standing Group to set targets and achieve milestones through that accessibility framework. And the key is, I'm emphasizing it again, is working with, not for or about persons with disability. And we have a motto that Sally emphasized, nothing about us without us. So we know that persons with disability have a lived experience of online barriers and how governance structures can reduce those barriers. So communication and engagement are key factors in decision making. So we're talking here about communication and engagement by persons with disability in those structures. And it's useful to point out that last year's theme for International Day of Persons with Disability was amplifying the leadership of persons with disability for an inclusive and sustainable future. And that's what we really want to do. So again, nothing about us without us. And I'm going to talk about internet governance. And this is the area I've been working in for quite a long time. And it's a shared effort by governments, civil society, technical community, private sector, and academia to develop and maintain rules, policies, standards, and practices. Internet governance forums are held nationally, regionally, and globally to exchange information and ideas on policy and practice. In other words, Internet governance forums are an important and influential space in advocating for digital rights. And digital rights don't just happen for persons with disability. We need to make them happen. This is where the disability leadership training in internet governance and digital rights comes in. It's about strengthening the disability voice. We want to see that disability voice throughout the conference, this conference, other conferences, and forums like the ones I've mentioned on internet governance. While I was leading the Accessibility Standing Group, one of the key aims was to develop and deliver disability leadership training to strengthen that disability voice in internet governance and digital rights. This was done in two ways. One was to develop and deliver face-to-face workshops for disability advocates, and it's like a train-the-trainer process. The second is an online course on disability leadership in this particular area. So initially, there was a partnership between the ASG, the Accessibility Standing Group, and the Asia Pacific School of Internet Governance. There was a pilot project in Dhaka, Bangladesh in June 2022. And as I mentioned, Train the Trainer was key part, highly interactive over those 2 days. And it's taking those skills and sharing them with national workshops in other countries. So I want to mention here 3 key people who played a significant role in those workshops. And I was a key part in developing the workshops and leading that initial workshop. Dr. Mohammed Shabir from Pakistan was on the Internet Society Board of Trustees from 2021 to 2023 and is now the coordinator of the IGF, the Internet Governance Forum, Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability. Vashka Bhattacharjee from Bangladesh is a national consultant on accessibility with a program of the Bangladesh government. And Manik Gunaratne from Sri Lanka is the manager of a specialized training and disability resource center through the Employers Federation of Ceylon. So when we've finished that pilot workshop, there have been follow-up workshops in Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, and Nepal to broaden that idea of strengthening the disability voice. And a prerequisite for that is an ISOC online course on, would you believe, disability leadership in internet governance and digital rights. So this course was developed to be accessible from the ground up. And I worked very closely with the developers to incorporate captioning, international sign, and a range of other accessibility features. So Dan York mentioned this particular online course, and the next one starts on 20 July this year. So if anyone is interested, it's there, and Dan provided the link earlier. And it's a 4-week course with weekly interactive sessions. And it's not only designed for disability leaders, but also for internet governance practitioners and trainers in internet governance. So it fulfills several different purposes. And in the course and reflected in the face-to-face workshops is learning about accessibility policy framework, understanding the interlinkages between digital accessibility for persons with disability and internet governance, learning about key internet organizations and their role in accessibility, developing practical communication skills, and also obtaining useful insights into advocating for digital accessibility and internet governance. So digital rights again. And this has gradually, it takes time, gradually resulted in new voices participating in these internet governance forums. And very, very positively, that means that there has been more awareness as a result of workshops in national, regional, and global events that incorporate a number of accessibility topics. And they are often run by persons with disability themselves. So, practical aspects, the Asia-Pacific School of Internet Governance and the Asia-Pacific Regional Internet Governance Forum reserves at least one seat internationally and one seat locally for fellows with disability to build that increased level of competence in internet governance. Venues and online systems are supposed to be accessible, and Dan York mentioned the IGF DCAD, Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability, their accessibility guidelines. So that DCAD, I mentioned, awards fellowships for persons with disabilities to the annual Global Internet Governance Forum. And to rotate it, the prerequisite is the ISOC online course. Much more needs to be done, but each step is a way to build that culture of accessibility and to achieve digital rights for persons with disability. These disability leadership training workshops are not passive listening exercises, but involved interaction through the 2 days they are held. For example, writing workshop or funding proposals and refining your elevator pitch, all in the context of internet governance, are just 2 examples. So I welcome more of these intensive workshops being held in other regions in future. So thank you very much, and I hope we have some questions to have that interaction. Thank you.